to THA Talks, for free thought and open minds.
And for freedom of speech.
Hello, I'm Paul Obitelli and welcome to another edition of THA Talks, the alternative podcast show from the UK. Our talks include news, conspiracies, spirituality, the occult, science, history, art, philosophy, religion, and much more. If you'd like to check out our full archive, just go to www.thatalks.com to listen to or to download all our free content. And if there's anyone who'd like to contact us and give us some feedback, maybe you'd like to recommend a guest for the show, you can email us info@thatalks.com. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the show via our RSS feed, and you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, and many other podcast directories out there. Well, hello everyone, thanks for tuning in again here to THA Talks. I'm doing this on a Friday evening, which is a little bit unusual. I'm normally doing this on the Sundays, but I've got a bit of a break over this summer solstice weekend. I'm going to be doing this show, then I'm going to chill, and then tomorrow afternoon I'll be actually playing some acoustic music at an all-day event in Ightham, the Ightham Beer Festival. It's for charity. There's going to be some really good acts and bands playing all day, so get yourself down there if you fancy it. It's in Ightham, which is near sort of Maidstone, Sevenoaks, that part of the country. Is quite a small little place, but that should be good. Music and food all day in the sunshine. So I'm going to be doing that, and then I'm going to be heading off into the countryside to check out the summer solstice vibes, camping for a couple of days with some pals. It's going to be raining, but it's still going to be good. You know how it is. The countryside and that time of the year has got to be done. I'd also like to thank, I'm not going to mention his name because he hasn't told me to mention his name, or I don't know if that's cool, but I would like to thank, you know who you are, for your donation, bit of cash, which is always nice, and glad that people are appreciating the show and doing that. And while I'm at it, if anyone wants to donate towards what I'm doing here, you can do so at my PayPal account, which the best email to use for that, I think, is pazrock@msn.com. That's PAZROCK@msn.com, and by all means send us over a beer or two. But yeah, I would like to thank you for that, and I will consider those recommendations for the coming weeks and months and so on. But today, on with the show, I'm going to be speaking with the one and only John White again, who's going to be coming on and giving us a bit of an update on the whole Doctor Who feminist battle that's going on at the moment. And as we mentioned in the last show, it's not just a battle of that. It seems to be a real cultural battle at the moment. So without any further ado, we're going to go straight to John now and find out what's been going on. How are you doing, John?
Good evening, Paul. Good evening, THA. Where are we? God, it's the summer solstice. I'm absolutely fantastic, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good, and I was saying earlier, I'm getting ready for a bit of a camp out in Wiltshire, into the countryside.
Oh,
for that.
Damn! You ought to have a cracking time.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, it'll probably be close to where we actually first met for the first time, or the second time. One of the. I think
you're right. God's own country, Paul.
That's right. Yeah. Back in the David Icke days, where we were all fully inspired by the Icester.
I can hear William Blake echoing through my head right now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Blimey.
Well, today basically, it's it's been too long since you've been on the show again. Really, I do sort of let it tick on too long because people do enjoy it when you come on. But what we're going to be talking about today is finding out about this Doctor Who business, this feminist stuff. These feminists, they do like to rattle a few.
Feminist front.
Yeah.
That's the foe that we're talking about here. Yes, I have been stalking this beast for several months now.
I have actually been letting it rip on Twitter recently. The feminists, I can't help it. I just really enjoy doing it. You know?
Well, it's not hard to let rip at feminists on Twitter because they aren't hard to find. You can only throw a rock, you're going to hit one.
Just be normal to them, and it kind of has the strange effect if you're just normal and just act like a bloke, and it's just without backing down, you know.
Well, let me try to tell a little bit of a story here. I think I better recap a little sort of the story so far for just a couple of minutes, and then tell you but get it in more detail about what's actually going on right now. So, look, yes. First up, confession time. I am a fan of Doctor Who. Oh my God. I've all the other stuff that I've done, 9/11 Truth, QAnon, everything else. Every other fingers in other pies I've got going all the time, especially Brexit. It just so happens that now I'm fighting for my favourite science fiction show as well. Now, we have done some stuff touching on this earlier in this year. In particular, the topic of it, the Culture Wars edition, we covered this a fair bit. So it's a bigger background of what's happening in other franchises like Star Wars, now under control of Disney, Star Trek, and so forth. But Doctor Who is my bit. Yeah. So when I discovered what was happening inside Doctor Who, I had to start to act. Now, I didn't like the last series with Jodie Whittaker. And I didn't engage on the old social media until the end of the series. You see, I'm not a fan who's ever kind of got into arguing on social media about a program for the sake of it. Right? Yeah. I'm not that kind of person. So it's only because of the recent situation I've actually expressed my opinions about the show. Before that, I'm a private fan, if you see what I mean. Yeah. It's just I like to watch it. And that's my business, nobody else's. And I might read a debate, but I never felt that a debate about Doctor Who was a debate that needed me.
I think I had a couple seasons on Netflix where it was on a holiday or something when there wasn't much going on, and I knocked out a couple seasons where I really enjoyed it, but that's about it. Other than that, I haven't really watched a lot of it, but apart from those 2 seasons.
It's been going down for some time. It's been going down for some time. But in the course of getting to talk to the fans who are talking, because you know how it is with a group of people. There's always some people will do the talking, and most people will do the listening and the sharing. So it's the secret majority always, even on any kind of forum. About 90% of people just read but don't post. Yeah. But I've got to know some of the people who are posting, not reading. And they've liked me, and they've liked my approach to things, because info war. Anyway, so I've given them a little bit of inspiration here and there. And what I discovered was it wasn't just a question of Chris Chibnall, the current producer, showrunner, is an idiot. It was, in fact, that there's been an infiltration of the whole production of the show by intersectional fourth wave feminists. And that this has really been going on since about 2015. And lo and behold, doesn't that match what we've seen in so many other areas of culture with the same SJW intersectional ideologies coming in and reinforcing division and hate rather than unity and love. I'm not talking in thin air. It's all part of the same thing. Mm. So anyway, so we talked about this before, and basically we found out there's this group called the Doctor Who Feminist Front, that there are a bunch of women connected to the show on lots of different ways, but they seem to have sprung out of a convention called Gallifrey 1 in 2015, where a whole bunch of about 12 women who'd had a past of the show told some sort of Me Too stories attached to the show. So this outfit, the Feminist Front, surfaced in late 2017. They've got a very well-advanced network on both Twitter and Facebook and other places. And they've been collecting Me Too stories about the BBC, about Doctor Who, and also about the science fiction convention circuit, also about a company called Big Finish, which makes audio dramas based on Doctor Who. Very big, very popular. And the Doctor Who magazine, which is been going since the 70s, and that's a monthly, was sometimes profitable, monthly publication. So they were deliberately looking for anything Me Too about any of that, at the same time directly stating that they were now in control of the writing of the show, and that the purpose was basically to brainwash the next generation to be intersectional feminists who hate men. So, look, they've written all this stuff. I didn't write any of it. Well, I've just discovered it. And then I go, well, could you tell me what this is? And so we've started this process in February. I put out a big PDF under a campaign on the heading of hashtag Not My Doctor Who. So I kind of got that one going, and as opposed to Not My Doctor, which was more about people objecting to the Doctor being a woman in the first place, and to be honest, a little bit more like Jodie Whittaker, isn't she shit? I haven't come on that level, so we're Not My Doctor Who. This program is not the show I recognise. You know,
I mean, when you came on the show last time, you basically said, you know, when she first was introduced as a next Doctor Who, you kind of thought, well, that's an interesting idea, you know, woman, because he is a kind of
absolutely,
and that's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember at the time when you first said that, but I was kind of thinking, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I'm not, you know, this isn't just a told you so thing, but I kind of thought to myself, but this theme is just way too common for me not to be suspicious about that. But in your defence, you were, because you're so into the programme, into the story.
I did. Yeah. Look, I was aware of a possibility. I'm not ignorant, you know. Yeah, I could see. Oh, yeah. Well, but I thought surely the BBC will care more for their golden egg than to let that happen to it. You know, what can I say? Look, at the height of the Matt Smith era of Doctor Who, we could know the show was turning over £100 million a year on the merchandising. I would be surprised if it's 10 right now.
Yeah.
Not only does nobody particularly want to buy anything, there isn't particularly anything to buy. And the BBC is forcing it down our throat, because every release of any other DVDs do any of the other eras of Doctor Who have all got the bloody feminist bodged up logo on it. And the BBC keeps trying to say it's a massive success while the audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes is 22%. And it would be lower, but for the fact Rotten Tomatoes automatically discount any score of 1 or less. So it's only the people who've given it 1.5 or 2 who've got their score counted. As it would be, you know, as it'd be less than 10%.
So basically, we're at the stage now where, I mean, when we were talking about this before, you were kind of pointing out that it's not just a disgruntled fan base and people complaining and pointing out the usual.
No.
There was actually a deliberate movement
in Eden.
Yeah.
There is a veritable serpent in Eden coiled around the very heart of the production of Doctor Who. And here's how it is, right? They've been identifying those who they like and those who they do not like. Those who they like are those who will bow down and worship them. Those who they don't like are anyone with a spine.
Yeah.
Anyone who's got a spine has been getting driven out. Now, when I last spoke to you about this, what I was saying was that these people are saying that they're going to drive people out of the show and completely take it over. Yeah. Okay, but the problem is we put that information out there, but there wasn't the undeniable evidence that it had taken place. It was still in potentia. And so when I spoke to people like Hugh Fullerton from the Radio Times, who wrote an article about shipping, i.e. making the Doctor have a lesbian relationship with a Pakistani Muslim female character called Yasmin Khan, which is what these feminists would seem to want to happen in the next series, which views at the beginning of next year. Hugh Fullerton wrote an article for the Radio Times about how fans were so excited about this and demanding this happen, and we were like looking at it aghast and going, well, that's complete bullshit, isn't it? Because what it really was this feminist front feeding a story to the Radio Times and Hugh Fullerton publishing it. Same in the Daily Express. So, you know, I got to kind of that point. But Hugh Fullerton was saying to me, oh, it's all a put on, it's a LARP, it's pretend. And we got as far as we could. That would be about the end of February. But now, obviously, we're in June. Now, what's happened between there is I've been off doing other stuff. And that's taken me away from the whole orbit of this, actually, mostly for weeks. I mean, it's not like I'm banging on this 24/7 like somebody who's fixated, you know?
Yeah.
I put my energy into things when it's time to put energy into them. But I've learned not to push it too hard. And sometimes, Paul, you need to be patient and wait.
Yeah.
You know, because you have to wait for that opportunity to change the dynamic. Or, to put another way, you have to wait for your enemy to do something stupid. And that's what happened. A couple of weeks ago. Now, so at that point, we've gone full on assault again.
Yeah.
I'm being clear. Any questions at this point, Paul? I want to make sure that I'm explaining so that comes across clearly for anybody. Is it clear what we're talking about?
Well, yeah, I mean,
the program. There's a problem with it.
For
There's
people
a bunch
that
of feminist writers, they're up to stuff.
For people that don't understand, I mean, it's basically, obviously, you get fan people that follow these programs around with it, Star Wars, Doctor Who, and it's another story where another old story, a classic, is being altered and changed culturally. And you guys, the fans this time are saying, well, hang on, we're going to have a look at this. We're going to see what's really going on here. And you're actually getting into the nits and gritty of how this is happening. People seen it with Star Wars. You're actually seeing it happen.
It's a little bit worse than that here, because what the true reality is, I wouldn't know this stuff if these people weren't massive egoists who've bragged about it in such a way that I could just hoover it all up.
Yeah.
I was absolutely gobsmacked when I first read this.
You can see the attitude when they don't get exactly what they want. It's like with Game of Thrones. I used to watch Game of Thrones. I haven't really seen the ending of the following. Because it wasn't the ultimate feminist ending. It was like a lot of feminists going, "Oh my god, the powerful woman."
Their feminist icon was Daenerys, the Dragon Lady.
That's right, yeah.
Because she was the mother of dragons who freed all the slaves and everything else. But in the fifth episode, they made her torch the entire city of 500,000 people with her dragon and become a complete, Genghis Khan, type.
That had to hurt. That had to hurt.
Also, her handmaiden companion was one of a few Bane women in the show, and she got her head cut off by a giant white guy.
Oh dear!
Just of a white woman.
That wouldn't have gone down well.
I mean, there have been quite a few YouTube put out there about the amount of triggering that has caused. Yeah. But I better come back to the realm of Doctor Who here. Okay, so that's the basic story. Is we were waiting for something to happen about them claiming that they could get rid of people from the show. Now, they were targeting two people. We didn't mention their names back in February because we felt we didn't want to be the ones responsible for sort of echoing their comments if we didn't feel they were justified. But since then, the situation has moved on, and both Crystal D, who was how can you describe Crystal D to somebody who hasn't seen her? That kind of androgyne look. Somebody who's asexual in a kind of might wear a sort of smart dinnerwear, but you can't tell if it's a man or a woman by looking.
All right, yeah, kind of.
That's Crystal D.
Yeah.
Right, and the other person is Benjamin Cook, who's a bit like a Russell Brand.
Yeah.
These
are characters in the show, are they? Or
yes, he's a journalist who wrote a book with Russell T Davies about the writing of season 4. Okay. So he represents the kind of gay hierarchy that have been part of the show since it came back.
Yeah.
And therefore, kind of an old guard within the show today. Whereas Crystal D was kind of brought in to be trendy and to bring in all this SJBTQ stuff to Doctor Who fandom. Yeah. So she joined as a media manager for the online stuff, and also she was doing interviews that the BBC were putting out on their own fan show programme for about 2015. And she's also been involved with another little group of 12 young people called the Time Team, who've been reviewing Doctor Who for Doctor Who magazine. And that also caused controversy because none of the Time Team knew anything about the classic show. And they're very insulting about it. And the older fans would go, well, what? So, since June 2018, the Doctor Who magazine definitely hit a brick wall in terms of the support of its own readership.
Yeah.
Anyway, so these two characters were being targeted, and they suddenly both went. I would go, okay, what's going on? Crystal D put out a statement saying that she was resigning to take up a new job with the Department of Sports and Public Affairs, I think it is. Yeah. What's that department called? You know the one I mean. Yeah. Sports and Culture. That's it. So she's gone over. She said she's going over to there, but we've got an inside source from above the show inside the BBC who's been feeding us information and that source says she was sacked. And Ben Cook disappeared very mysteriously. And on top of which, Ben Cook blocked both me and my co-conspirator on this, Noel the TARDIS Zone. He blocked us. He blocked us before we'd actually even said anything to him. Within an hour of us making our first video talking about this, so we know that they've been very close to you, paying attention to what we're actually doing. And then it happened to Gareth Roberts. Now, and at that point, we had a breakthrough because Spiked magazine picked it up. This was 2 weeks ago. So Gareth Roberts has written for Doctor Who for 20 years. He started writing for the show after it was originally cancelled at the end of the 80s. So during the 90s and the early noughties, he was a writer keeping the show alive with new content while it was not actually making new programmes for TV. On top of which, he's done many hours of Doctor Who audio dramas for all of the different Doctors on Big Finish. And he's written 6 episodes of the show since it came back. His last one for the show was in 2014. Isn't that interesting? 2014, in Peter Capaldi's first season. So, but he hasn't been used in the last 4 or 5 years now. So, Doctor Who books under Elbury Books, BBC Books, were putting out an anthology of Doctor Who stories. Gareth Roberts was submitting one of his anthology stories when another writer called Susie Day complained about a tweet from 2 years ago, which she said that Gareth Roberts was transphobic. And because he was transphobic and had an irrational fear of people who had their gender realigned, he was not to be allowed to have his story in this Doctor Who book. What do you think of that?
Right. Well, it's just, it does not surprise me at all. It's
right.
And
of course, BBC Books folded. But this was interesting because Susie Day connected directly to the Doctor Who Fem 4, Doctor Who, the Whovian feminism, and the Doctor Who feminist front. And it goes better than that because one of the Time team, a girl called Beth, made a tweet saying that she was the one who had highlighted the Gareth Roberts tweet to Susie Day. In other words, no one just accidentally ran over a 2-year-old tweet. It was a planned takedown. So then things got interesting. Because suddenly we had the opening we needed to come back and say, now have a look at what we've been saying.
Yeah.
So now, look, Gareth Roberts himself has not engaged with us, and we would not expect him to, because he's a professional writer, and he's not going to want to get involved with a bunch of fans whipping up a conspiracy.
Yeah.
You know, at least that's the perspective which would be put back to us. That's not what we're doing. We're a bunch of fans pointing out to what is going on.
Pointing out the murder of a legendary series. You
know how that goes. So since the scalping of Gareth Roberts, I have been out there pushing. Now, one of the things that happened a couple of days later was another Doctor Who channel called @Trilby Reviews or @Mr. TARDIS Reviews. It's a channel which has over 16,000 YouTube subscribers and has made many videos about Doctor Who going back to about 2010. So Trilby used to be doing decent reviews of Doctor Who, but when Series 11 showed Jodie Whittaker appearing with Doctor, he went frenzied last November, posting in defence of the new show. Anyone who didn't like it was a sexist. Anyone who claimed the show wasn't popular was lying about the viewing figures when the reality was the viewing figures were absolutely in the toilet. And by the end of the year, Trilby had to buckle, and he couldn't get away with just calling everyone sexist anymore, and he had to admit, and he actually made a video himself where he agreed with a lot of the main points that had been made about why the show was not good. Nothing to do with the politics or anything, but the actual show itself, why it was simply bad storytelling, So he had to fold quite a bit, but he was quite notorious for this, Paul. You know, if you don't like it, you're a sexist, and you should get the fuck out of our fandom. His words, you know, and that echoed the more extreme language of the Doctor Who feminist front. You know, whereas if you don't like it, you're crying, man, baby, get the fuck out of our fandom. Yeah. We don't need fans like you anyway. And if you stand up to us, we're going to send our mob in to Twitter bully you.
Yeah.
You know? So this is what's been going on. So a few days after Gareth Roberts was sacked, a mate of mine, a young YouTuber called Faries, who a lovely lad, who I've also done a quite extensive interview with just a few days ago, he simply posted a tweet, Gareth Roberts for showrunner. And he posted that on the basis that Gareth Roberts knows more about writing Doctor Who than these morons ever do. There's Susie Day, who bragged about being the progressive feminist who got him fired off his book. She's written nothing for Doctor Who. She's got zero track record, apart from the fact she wants to get intersectional cult programming into the minds of small children.
Well, I think that's what we're seeing here. It's not really...
this is the underlying factor here, Paul. Yes.
It's not really an attempt for them to write a story that just has a pro-theme that they want. I think it's actually that they want to destroy our culture and civilization.
I think the parents of the children who have sat down to watch Doctor Who should be informed, at least, of what it is they're sitting their children down to watch. And if they don't want their children to have an extensive education in the perspectives of intersectional feminism, then perhaps the show's not actually for them anymore. And that's pretty serious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, we're getting close to this film could gaslight your child into a health warning.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're seeing a similar thing with the female World Cup on at the moment. It's not that I've got anything against women playing football. They're great if they're doing it, and if England do well, I'll cheer them on. But it's this expectancy that you should be watching it, you should like it as much as the men's, because if you're not, then there's something wrong with you, or you're a sexist, or you know, they're not going to say, well, you know what, it's just not as good quality. You know, I go to see non-league football, and most non-league sides are better quality. It's just the way it is. That's the reality. It's nothing to do with anything else, but it's this expectancy that you should be enjoying it, and you should no, you enjoy what you enjoy. You know, if it's good, we'll enjoy it. If it's on the Olympics, everyone probably will, because it'll be a gold medal and it will have that extra incentive. You know, it's just the way people are, and that's what I think's irritating people and making them. It's almost like promoting misogyny. It's making people feel misogynistic. You know.
Well,
not that I'm having a go at you girls out there. You're just, you know.
What you're actually saying is it's putting out misandry.
Yeah, that's it, and it's causing reaction. You know,
man baiting.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hate against men, and as in the nature of the energy of things, you know, are like opposites attract.
I think the way past it, because when you do get girls, this is why you get so many popular girls in these sort of conservative movements, because when you do find a girl that sticks up for men and sings the other tune, men just fall to their knees and they'll go, oh my God, she's beautiful, you know, because they're just so like, oh great, you know, that it's such a refreshing change from the other narrative. So really, maybe that's the key, to sort of use that is if you want to promote the feminists do that, that's what they need to really do.
Lucky bastard.
Sorry, what was that?
You never know, Paul, it might happen. But let's come back to this guy Trilby review. So he's come and picked on my mate Faries. And what he did, Faries posted Gareth Roberts for showrunner to, you know, out of support of Gareth Roberts as a writer, say this guy could single-handedly write a decent series instead of crap we're getting served. But Trilby comes down on him like a ton of bricks, and basically it makes a post that says the only reason Faries wants Gareth Roberts is because he's a transphobe, and the unstated part there is therefore Faries is a transphobe too. So I came right down on him for this, and basically crushed him on Twitter. He ran away, he blocked us all, and he refused to apologise. So Trilby got a nice article, you know, just to lay out what a little shit, what a little SOB he is. I ain't got no serious beef with the guy, but it was a very bad thing to do. And we've had a lot of this in the fandom, Paul. This is what's going on. But it was sexist. But the sexist has failed because they can't deny that the show has split the fan base and has been a real bloody unpopular. So now that the Gareth Roberts thing happened, they tried to come out again and attack people as transphobic. Yeah, I mean, why do we have to have a complicated view of intersectional sexuality just to have an opinion on whether we thought Doctor Who was shit or not?
Well, this is it. They're coming from purely a political perspective, not a creative one.
Political
they
bully.
Want to force their ideas down people's throats. It's as simple as that. And as a result,
that is in fact the title of that article I wrote on his behalf. From bigotry to bullying, at Trilby Reviews and transphobia fears, one face of the hell SJW politics have made of Doctor Who fandom. Now that was 6 days ago, so that was last weekend. And then we've continued to push the debate onwards. And a couple of days ago, I got into a discussion on the Wednesday post on the main official Doctor Who discussions page. I spoke to a guy called Gary, not somebody who's supporting us, but somebody at least prepared to talk about what we're trying to talk about. And he made the point that it became clear he wasn't fully clear on what we are doing and why we are doing it. So yesterday I acted on that, and I put out both a text and a short video narrating that text entitled "Why We Are Shouting About the Doctor Who Feminist Front in All Its Forms." And front and centre, Paul, we're putting the argument forward that these feminist front people have been saying for 19 months now, that they are collecting Me Too stories about Doctor Who and other things attached to Doctor Who. They are saying that they have such stories. They are saying that they are planning some kind of takeover using these stories, and they expect to be in full control of Doctor Who forever going forwards. That's what these people are saying. So we laid that out and we said, right, it's time that you started to explain all this. So that article went out yesterday. It's a very powerful statement. And, I mean, it would take about 7 minutes to read it. I don't know if you'd want me to narrate it on here. But, basically, that's what we were putting forward. And then this morning, the Doctor Who Feminist Front took the bait. And they tagged me in a post about my post they were making on their timeline. So instead of responding to me directly, they made their own post with my post inside it. Yeah, and then that tagged me onto a post that they had made on their Twitter timeline. I then went on there and set out a series of responses, and basically the result of that was it started off with them going like, yeah, right, loony. I came on, made a series of posts, laid out our case, and the result was another block and run. And it's just like I've said in our material, they have no choice but to flee from us because we are being open and transparent. We are only asking questions and looking for answers about what the meaning is about their own words. I mean, if I came to you, Paul, and said, Paul, you made this post, what's it about? Would you run away?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I
Anyone
quite enjoy
you know
standing by
run
my
away
convictions.
if someone came, what's this post about, mate?
Yeah.
I've never seen the like. They deleted their own post and gave me control of the whole thread. So we now own that. And earlier today, I put out a new Steemit article with all of the necessary links, connections, and screenshots of everything to detail this story of how the Doctor Who Feminist Front has fled from Not My Doctor Who.
Yeah, I generally believe the people that push these movements, the ringleaders, the ones that they're really not very nice people, and the people that follow them generally are just people that are just a bit brainwashed by it all, and confused by it all. To be honest, it seems that way to me.
Let me try to address this, Paul. Look, let me start off by saying, I'm open to the possibility that there has been Me Too problems within Doctor Who, because if you start looking at the BBC.
Oh God!
How dark it gets.
Oh, it's
certain clubs in London we don't even talk about. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So we know just how bad that sewer can get. So the idea that some of that stink infects Doctor Who is hardly revolutionary.
Yeah.
So I'm quite prepared to believe that.
The BBC still haven't been accountable for what Tommy Robinson dug up about one of their most popular documentary makers.
They're not going to willingly be accountable for it, are they? That's where we're at. They're in desperation mode because their survival is now threatened.
They'll give Nigel Farage or whoever else comes on their show whatnot and give them a hard time, but they won't give themselves a hard time, will they? No, definitely not.
No. So but the BBC at the same time can be pushed to it. They can be pushed to the edge. And in terms of Doctor Who, we know there is a push back within the BBC. But you have to understand how this has devolved. See, look, the Doctor Who fandom used to be a place of love. And I'm not being a soppy bastard. I mean, it was a place of love for Doctor Who. You see, it didn't matter what your goddamn politics were.
Yeah. Well, that's
it
absolutely.
certainly didn't matter what you had dangling between your legs or what you did with it, as long as nobody else was being, in any way taken advantage of. It didn't matter. All that mattered is, do you like Doctor Who, and would you like to talk about it? And you can have raging arguments about an episode, but afterwards it was just so what we didn't agree about that episode.
Mm.
And then the fans would say, yeah, it's okay, but it gets a bit feisty at times, but we're having a thorough debate. It didn't get hateful and nasty like it has in the last 4 years. And there's no accident, because that's exactly when this extremist feminism has tried to weaponize Me Too, leverage it against the popular culture in any possible way it can. And what they've done with Doctor Who is turn it into a giant fuck you to the patriarchy. Yeah. And next year, if what they say is right, and by the way that the ground is being prepared with articles in the Express and the Daily and the Radio Times about how fans are desperate for the Doctor to stick her tongue up Laz's pussy, it looks like they are really going to use the show as a giant fuck you to the Islamic patriarchy.
Mm.
I mean, does that sound like a good idea to you?
No.
Poke the bear and all that. Yeah. But do you want to do that just for the sake of some feminists' desires to be recognised? Yeah. It's like that Emily Mattis on the BBC Leaders debate the other day. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Yeah. You farcical woman.
Yeah. Well,
you brought these plants in. They're supposed to be answering the plants question. Stop demanding they answer you. Mm. What was wrong with them all? Yeah.
Well,
she was losing it, wasn't she?
These are the people that keep pointing the finger at certain others with so-called privileges, and they're blatantly the ones with this privilege. They behave in a way that's spoiled rotten.
I wrote something the other day. Oh, you would love it. Get completely away from Doctor Who for a moment, but on Sunday I wrote Chuka Amuna and Caroline Lucas. Mm. I was found out she's also commonly known as Caroline Mucus. Title of Stop Your Race and Hate Baiting Against the President of the United States. Shame of our nation. Mm. And in that, I take apart all the different ways in which they're talking complete crap when they say that Trump is sexist, racist, misogynist, or Islamophobic.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm not letting any of these people get away with it, Paul. And this is one of the things I love about Twitter. Look, I cannot get seen on Twitter. Let me get this across to anybody, right? I cannot get seen on Twitter. I am one of the most ghost-banned people on the internet, but the way that you cannot escape from the fact that someone's talking to you on Twitter means that I have been able to use it effectively by highlighting it on other sites where I can be seen. So I'm looking to expand the way in which I do my work to be much more holistic, so that I'm kind of englobing these websites, not enmeshed in them. Because my work is finding an ever increasing audience, and I'm getting better at presenting it and smarter at where I'm presenting it. We all keep moving forwards, and bloody good thing too. And there's no reason to let any of them get away with it. I also wrote another article recently also connected to all this intersectionality stuff, about Anne Widdecombe.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm not a Brexit Party supporter, by which I mean I haven't paid a fee. I'm not a member. I'm not a supporter, as they call it, right? So I'm not connected financially or structurally or contractually to the Brexit Party in any way. And I want to make that quite clear, because you know me, I write on my own voice. So if I'm talking about something that might be an issue that is part of what's going on with the Brexit Party, I'm only speaking for myself.
Yeah.
But when Anne Widdecombe got done over by Sky for her comments about a brackets gay cure,
Oh, yeah.
I looked at that, and what I found was really very interesting, actually. So I put another article out called "The Widdecombe Punishment Beating: When Choice Becomes Hate to the Closed-Minded."
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of reasons. I mean, that's a big topic all in itself, but of course there's a lot of reasons why people have a concern about the idea of something might be called a gay cure.
Well, she made a genius point, really. It was a genius point that just was there to expose hypocrisy, and she did it to those with their looking, to those with their eyes open.
Well, look, let's be clear here. Anne Widdecombe did not push that point. Sky News pushed it at her.
Exactly.
They trawled up something from 2012 and said, "What's about this about curing homosexuals?" Then,
so we're allowed to cure.
Used the term a reluctant homosexual, and as a woman of Roman Catholic faith, I can see how that could be triggering to some people who are homosexual. I can understand that.
But the hypocrisy was, how people can change their sex, from a man to a woman. But if anyone was to say, well, what about if a gay person wanted to turn himself into a straight person? Then that is outrageously offensive. This is the stage we've got. We have got to that stage.
But here's the thing, though, Paul. That one of the objections to what she said was on the basis that there's no scientific basis for changing orientation.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've found in my research, going into the literature and the articles being published around the LGBTQ community, is that LGBTQ people themselves are reporting orientation shifts or permanent changes as a consequence of gender realignment therapy. So, because if you're taking a lot of male or female hormones on top of having surgery to alter how your body functions and to, basically swap a pole for a hole or vice versa, I mean, why aren't there people who want a pole and a hole?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be funny here, Paul, but I've actually understand that when you have a woman who transitions into a man, the penis that she gets when she becomes a he is basically inflated by a little pump, so you can have a hard on whenever you want. So why don't we just have one of those on top? I don't get it.
The thing is as well, the whole argument.
We get into these choices that people can start to make with their lives now. Yeah. Why is it only some options are acceptable and others are not?
Exactly.
And why is it not acceptable to use those treatments to aspire more towards a heteronormative norm if that's what you want? Yeah. And in addition, if someone born a boy but feels more like a girl, then the chances are, if that person continues in their life development to grow as a man, they might become a man who is gay, or they might become an effeminate man. Yes? Yeah. But there are plenty of effeminate men who've had long, loving, beautiful relationships with their wives.
Yeah.
Some women want a man who, looks like he could rip rocks apart with his bare hands. Some women want a man who looks like he can care about pruning the roses properly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's taste, choice, isn't it? The thing is with this as well is they made out almost as if it was stupid of her to think that anything like that could exist. When, to be honest, the bottom line is science is open. There's no scientific explanation as to why homosexuality is a thing, why it exists. But there's no explanation.
That person who feels more like a girl as a boy, and you make them into a girl, and then therefore by extension into a woman. At the end of the day, haven't you imposed a heteronormative value? No one wants to talk about that one.
Yeah, because it's like David Parry, who's obviously everyone knows on the show. He himself, when he was talking about this kind of stuff, he admitted himself. He said, I thought the whole idea of being gay was that you like men, you like another masculine man, and that's what homosexuality is from a man's perspective. And obviously that's changed now as well, because if you have men that are like women, then that's where it starts to get a little bit different. But
it's all gone completely silly putty, hasn't it? I mean, I think the bottom line here, we've got to put our foot down and know who we are ourselves. This is who I am.
The bottom line is, it's just about respecting normality. The thing is, we can be as open-minded as we want, and that's not a problem. Acceptance, understanding that these people that feel this way and have this thing, and accepting in society so they can live their lives the way they want. Absolutely. Most people, the vast majority of people would agree with that. It's when the norm is attacked that we must be demonized for saying a man, a woman, a relationship between them, and a baby and a family. That is the cornerstone. That is the central normality of society. Respect that first. And if you do that, you're demonized as some bigger. And I will always stand for that, even whatever opposition I'm in. The family, man, wife, husband, wife, family. That is the norm. Respect the norm. It doesn't mean you don't accept anything else. It doesn't mean you can't be gay. It doesn't mean you can't be a trans, whatever. It means that's the center. That's where the start is, and that's all we ask, and I don't know why you're called a bigot or a horrible person for maintaining that,
I'm with you, mate. I'm completely with you. Here we are, a couple of guys adrift in a world of madness, are we not?
Absolutely.
But we are doing our best in this storm to be there for everybody and have no fear, because in the bigger picture, it's all the great awakening, baby.
Yeah. But this is it. And this is why they're
targeting out to be properly dealt with.
And this is why they're targeting the Star Wars, the Doctor Who, all the classic films.
Yes, because with humanity, our mythology matters.
Yeah.
He who could rewrite the story of the Garden of Eden can rewrite our very understanding of divinity. The power to control thought is no idle thing.
It's backfiring a bit, though, because I think people are starting to lose interest in movies. Not lose interest, but not as much.
Faces, you know. Absolutely. Fake news is the enemy of the people.
And they don't respect movie stars as much and pop stars as much as they used to. They're
CNN is down 33% year on year. The MSNBC, or whatever the hell MTV Awards just bombed, Paul.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
I haven't seen those stats.
The audience of the year before. People have had enough of these gaslighting wankers, because they've been telling people, especially in America, they've been telling people for the last 2 years that their president is a traitor who is a puppet of Russia. But reality is that Hillary Clinton paid for Russian propaganda, smearing her opponent with lies, and then using those lies while knowing they were lies to deceive and defraud the FISA court to get surveillance of the whole of the Trump campaign in cahoots with GCHQ and the British government. And we call that Spygate.
Yeah.
And this now, we're looking at major arrests are now happening, Paul. It's amazing what's going on over there. And because people realise the walk away movement is becoming huge.
Yeah.
And you know how it goes. What we've got over there, we'll get over here. And one of the things I think was very pivotal in recent events was what happened with Sheehan Pringan, the Emily Thornberry lookalike who was shouting at the pensioner in the footage from the Donald Trump protests.
Oh, blimey.
The NHS nurse.
Oh, yeah.
Now, look.
Horrible.
You know what? I reckon, on the whole, she's actually a decent person, Paul. I think that she has been so twisted by the hate mongering on the left, that she became her very own monster. And I really hope that all of that has been a massive wake up for her. And I regret that there, no doubt, be a lot of negative stuff go her way, because I do see her, people like her, as the victims of the fake news gaslighting, and of the deep state and of the cabal and of the European Union cabal lying to our young people on an industrial scale to try to hold together their corrupt power base. And it ain't going to work, because you and I know these are the days of decision.
Yeah.
We've been working for these days for many years. have we not?
Well, I was saying this to my friend the other day. It's very difficult that the agenda that they've got, people are beginning to hate it so much. It makes you think, where is it? Surely it can't work. Surely we're gonna see a change. We're gonna see a point where it just gets to a wall, and they're gonna think they're not having it. You know, it's not working. You know, I think they're just banking on the youngsters. That's why they want to get in our kids' head. That's why they want to get hold of our 5-year-olds and teach them about everything that can just confuse them and make it that when they grow up, that, you know, that's what they want to do, because the research from the 60s, the sexual revolution in the 60s, these people used to talk about like fetishes and sexual kinks and stuff that were implanted at a young age. That's where they came from, you know, and it's like that's how it works. So when you get these people,
of it has gone on, you know, like as Pedogate is getting exposed, we've got the Nixon stuff has all just exploded just within the last couple of days. Randy has just been found guilty, and now everything that was used in the evidence for his trial could be used for further prosecutions, and that includes the Wiener laptop. So in terms of Pedogate and Pedo Wood, it's, you know, you're going to hear a lot more between now and Christmas, and I can't even claim to be up on it. Have you heard Isaac Cappy died?
I didn't know. That doesn't sound good.
Cappy went off a bridge.
Blimey.
Yeah, so, you know, this is real, this war, people. We try and keep it to information, and I don't know about you, Paul, but I try not to get my nose into too much trouble. Well, I don't try and get into Julian Assange level trouble. I don't handle classified information and crap like that. I'm just a commentator on culture.
I think we're feeling a spiritual aspect though, and I do feel that. I think to myself, when I'm, you know, you've got to remind yourself sometimes, although you're playing the position of the bigot in society, we're often told that, and we're pushed into that, and sometimes you can almost feel like it because you've called it so many times. You know,
anybody who calls me close-minded is the most bigoted person on earth themselves. You know, I mean, it's a farce, isn't it?
There's a spiritual element to it. If you're doing something right, then you know, there's a spiritual reward for that. You can feel it, almost like it gives you that sense of bravery and lack of fear in a way, because you think, you know, beyond all this, you're doing something that's more appreciated because you're sticking up for truth.
Profound words, Paul. Very profound words. And I think, you know, let us reflect then, isn't that what THA Talks is actually about?
Absolutely. I try my best.
Surface topics.
Yeah.
But always is to try to show the principles of the soul being applied to solve the problems of our lives. But one thing I really want to push here, so that everyone understands, is that I am not a hater, right? I am not someone out to destroy anyone. I am not anyone's enemy unless they insist upon it. So even with these Doctor Who feminist front, I don't like what they're doing. And I seriously think that any Me Too allegations need to be reported to the police. You cannot sit on these stories and use them for your own agenda. That is also abuse of victims. I know my law. So, you know, the BBC and everybody else ducking away from this, I'm going to keep on it because I want to get those, if they're victims, then I want to get action. I want to know who these assholes are, who's doing these things. And if it isn't true, I want to know that too. Yeah. So let's find out what's real and what's not. But I'm not against these people, and I am a peacemaker. So in this message, yeah, we've talked about our problems, but we've also been very clear about wanting to talk, you know, about how, and we actually have positive solutions. Do you know what? It could just be, if the BBC listens to this, which actually they will, Paul. I mean, to the BBC at this point, I want to say, look, I've actually got positive ideas. You guys should just talk to me. But the longer you don't talk to me, the longer I'll continue to have my say publicly, where you cannot stop it. Now, on that topic, Paul, this is important. I am being horribly censored, everybody, by Facebook and Twitter. I continue to use those platforms, but I know that I am practically invisible on them. Now, I have two things that I'm using now to get around this. The first is I am publishing my articles on Steemit. Now, with Steemit, it uses crypto stuff, which, to be honest, I don't really understand. But if people like my posts on Steemit and share my posts on Steemit, it earns me credits to keep me publishing on there without me having to buy credits to use the site. So if firstly, I'm going to ask Paul to feature my Steemit link with this. And if anyone reading that, go onto my Steam it and bookmark it. You can keep up with everything important that I do from there. The second is that I have replaced my Patreon. Now, there are some people still donating on my Patreon. That's absolutely fine. You don't need to change if you don't want to. But the SJWs have a habit of taking down Patreons. So I cannot rely on Patreon. And also, Patreon have deleted some of the posts I've made on Patreon. So, me and Patreon, I'm sorry, boys, our ways are diverging. So I have moved on to Subscribe Star. Now, I'm just getting set up there, and I will be laying it out so that Subscribe Star will have absolutely everything I do on there. I will try and do something special for subscribers, but I don't believe in subscriber-only content. So what I would look to do would be to have subscribers maybe do a group podcast and then put that out for everybody. But I'm also going to ask Paul to link my Subscribe Star. So if you want to back me in what I do, that is now the place to do it and follow everything important. And Steam it cannot be deleted by the likes of the globalists. And you'll get all my finest work on there. So that's my wrap up, really, Paul. Anything else you want to ask me before we call it a night?
No, I think we've covered a lot there, and I think we definitely need to get you back on for a Brexit talk soon, because there's a lot going on there. Definitely, Let's
do that soon. I love talking about Brexit. Don't panic, everybody.
Yeah. No, I think we're going to have to get there. But
game for over a bloody decade. I am not going to lose my shorts in the last haul.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We are doing very well.
There's definitely plenty.
One positive thing I would say very briefly. Consider this: 2014, 24 rabidly Eurosceptic MEPs returned. 2019, 28 rabidly Eurosceptic MEPs returned. Now, if their brainwashing had had any impact at all, it should have been less, not more.
Yeah, and France and Italy have chucked a few in as well, haven't they?
EU knows it cannot get us to accept Remain. In fact, the EU has already said that the rebate is already gone, and if we did Remain, that would therefore immediately double the cost of the EU. The second referendum is unwinnable, people. It's all just London panicking.
Yeah. Okay, well, John, I appreciate you coming on the show again, and we will.
I love it, Paul.
Yeah, I always enjoy having you on, as do my listeners, and we're going to be looking forward to the next one. So, thanks.
Good night.